Welcome everyone to the November TAPR meeting. I really appreciate everyone who managed to make it, even with the rescheduling. Things always get a little hectic around the holidays, so thank you for coming. As long as I can make this work, we are going to now enter the presentation. All right, can everyone see my screen here? Great, wonderful. So for the November TAPR meeting, we will be starting out with the Forsyth County Courthouse. The project is situated fronting North Chestnut Street here with its rear to North Patterson Street. These are a few photos of the site. So this is looking down North Chestnut Street at the adjacent buildings. You're getting a little closer to the site. The site is situated between this brick building here on the right and the one on the left. It will occupy this area here. From the other side of the site, kind of getting a view of where the building will be situated. And then facing the site, currently it is just parking, but when it will be built, pretty much this entire area will be filled out by the courthouse. And then this courtyard will actually be enhanced by the project. They will be adding plantings and I believe a new bench to kind of build up this right side of the project. And from the back view, you can see the site slopes down and is currently a unused parking lot. So it should be a nice addition to the city to have a courthouse here instead. As far as the site plan, it's a little hard to read at the scale, but I will do my best to describe it. North Chestnut is the north-south road that runs here with Patterson in the back. The view that corridor we were talking about that they'll be enhancing with plantings and stuff, lines up with 2nd Street going west-east on the site. And there will be a street level parking with tree plantings and stuff put on the opposite side of the building. As far as the more zoomed in plantings on the site, you can see in the courtyard they will be adding a nice variety of smaller and decorative trees. They'll also be putting plantings in front of the actual courthouse itself and sort of carrying the brick motif with concrete through the project. As far as signage for the site, you have on the facade of the structure, I believe they are aluminum lettering, and then you have a concrete-based sign with a, I believe it is a rusted iron cutout on top, if I remember correctly. This is we'll have to ask them a little bit more information on this because I couldn't exactly make out what was going on for this part, but this is behind the county jail. It looks like an addition here will be added. I think it's just a fence though or something for privacy. We can get that answered in questions. This is one of the facades of the project, the one that will be facing the courtyard with the plantings that will be added. And you can see the step down on the site here, the front entrance being on the right of the project. Here's the opposite. Now these facades aren't facing streets. They will be facing the neighboring buildings. This is the front of the facade, so you can see the highlighted front entrance here and get an overall sense of the massing. This is the rear. You have the secure parking in back, which I believe is for courthouse officials. As part of courthouse programming, they have to have their own secure parking. And then the gap to the right of the project here will be where the courtyard is, and there's going to be steps down from front to back. Here is a perspective, which seems to be mostly true to the project. The one thing I have noticed is that the courtyard here has not been updated to what the current plans are showing. So this isn't showing the new plantings and sort of the more organic edge that's being created up against the courthouse. Other than that, it looks like it's sticking true to materials and the overall facade. Staff comments. Staff would really appreciate a material selection that fit the surrounding context a little better. Currently, the project is very pleasant. The material selection is nice, but if you do look at the adjacent buildings, they tend to be dominated more by a red brick color, whereas the courthouse itself is more of a tan brick. And so we think adjusting of the colors a little bit would help it fit in while still believing it'll stand out quite well just by its massing and the formal gestures it makes. Staff would also like to see a more formal or informal seating in the plaza area or near the plantings. Since so much effort has gone into the landscaping, it would be nice if it were possible to have a little bit more seating around it. But other than that, that is staff comments for the project. So now just for comments and questions from the TAPR committee.
Hi, this is Mona. Not to sound disagreeing with your comments, but I like the difference. You
certainly can.
Okay. I personally like the difference in the material and color selections. It makes it stand out to show that it is a different building. It is new architecture, and it's a destination that you know, people want to be able to find easily downtown. So buildings that tend to blend into each other, especially when you're not familiar with the city, you can't find them. So it's kind of creating its own wayfinding system by standing out, being different materials and different architecture. But again, that's my opinion.
That's perfectly fine.
This is Keith. I have a question about the material selection. I'm looking at this on my phone. It's really hard to tell what all the different, can you go through and kind of describe what, I can see there's tan brick and obviously glazing, and could somebody sort of describe all of the materials that are being used?
If someone from the project could probably do a much better job than me off the top of my head.
This is John Draker. Doug Kleppen, do you want to tackle that?
Sure. Hey, good morning, everyone. My name again is Doug Kleppen. I'm part of the design team, and you know, I appreciate the dialogue about trying to, you know, be contextual and fit in at the same time differentiate, because that's really the crux of, I think, a successful courthouse project. So, you know, we were conscious of the scale and the the kind of window patterns of the adjacent buildings. And we were trying to break our building down using some of those same devices. And materially, to specifically answer your question, there are these two bars that are actually slightly rotated one to another that form really our the two halves. One is parallel to the administration building, and it's clad in a warm precast. There's actually a couple of different tones of precast, so that's that side there. We have the punched windows. The large expanses of glass are generally the public zones of the building. So where we would have the jury, really the jury box within the courtrooms, or the public gallery between the sets of banks of courts, that's where we've employed that heavy curtain wall. Obviously, the pavilion out front is predominantly curtain wall. We've got a kind of a warmer metal color. There's some layers of brick and tile that kind of announce that that space as well. And then the bar that you see to the far right is then executed in masonry. So that's the brick, which, and again, we really debated about color as well. And we had some of the same disagreements on our side as to what color it should be. What we wound up with is kind of more of a warm gray. I think you described it as a tan, but it's got banding of concrete in it. Again, that harken back to some of the industrial complex and the context of that zone. But that's really our palette. We have a little bit of metal panel and curtain wall, and then we have precast and we have brick.
Thank you so much for that description. That really goes a long way in helping to understand the materials and the context. And I agree with Mona. I think the choice of colors is appropriate for a building from this era. It doesn't have to be red brick to blend in. I think it's I really like the massing of the building, and I now I understand, the context of how you came up with the various material selections. I think it looks great.
I have a question I'm curious about parking. You're going to be putting a lot of employees and customers, if you will, into this site. And there is a small parking lot across the street, and then there's a new expanded deck right down the street behind the city hall, but there doesn't appear to be any accommodation for additional parking here. There are some county decks. Is it envisioned that there's enough capacity to absorb all the new traffic coming to this site?
James, I don't know if you want to tackle that one.
Yeah, so this is James Anderson with the county. As you alluded, there is a new deck that's roughly half a block up from the site. That deck was built and it's just touch over 670 spaces. And so that will be the primary parking for staff. And then as part of that, we transitioned the parking lot across the street and a portion of the parking underneath the Wells Fargo deck to public parking. And it was sized to accommodate not only our current needs for the courthouse, but looking at the future growth. We've got a pretty good growth factor in there for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from staff? Or sorry, from the TPR committee? I know it can take a little bit for people to unmute. If not, it looks like we can go to the next project. So Caladium on 3rd Street is the next project we will be talking about. It is a children's museum, which is being put up. quite a wonderful project. As far as the site goes, it will be fronting on West 3rd Street and sort of siding on a Town Road Lane here. The site, they've already sort of demoed the plaza right adjacent to it, which will be becoming a more of a park that kind of sweeps over the vast majority of the block adjacent to the new museum. The new museum will be positioned right on this corner here with the front entrance on 3rd Street. This is down from behind. This is where utility access will be put. This is sort of a front view of the site as seen from Trade Street. Kind of had to get over the construction fence a little bit, but it gives you a decent idea of the project. But it should run all the way from this side of the building here and the park ending probably right around here with the building massing. And so here's a site plan, north being up and 3rd Street here. The front entrance being off of 3rd. The main plaza is this nice, I guess, 3-tier garden area with a ramp from the highest tier to the mid-tier, and then stairs connecting all 3. As far as plant selection for the site, we got a decent variety here of both trees and shrubs. This is the plan for the project. Sorry, it is rotated. This is now 3rd Street with the front entrance being here. You can see the utility on Town Run Lane in the back here. And then sort of entrances from the Liberty Plaza, the park area. This is the other sort of important, I did skip a few floors, but this is the roof plan, which has more of an effect on the exterior elevation because it actually has areas for sort of presentation with double height steps and larger event spaces on it that will be open to the exterior. You can see them on the elevations here, that they have sort of a large impact and will be opening up views to the city. These are the rear elevation here and the elevation on the Northtown Lane, I believe it is. Keep forgetting that street name. Here is an axon of the site where you can see the double height steps, which will sort of act as seating for presentations, and the event space with views looking north more into the center of town. I imagine this is more event space up here with the front entrance below. This is the rear. You can see the fenced-in utility area and sort of a back courtyard along with the main facade. You can kind of tell from this that it opens up more towards the north and the center of town. Here's an elevation sort of from the plaza, or sorry, a rendering from the plaza looking at the site with 3rd Street being here and the front entrance. Then we get more of a cross the street view from 3rd Street, where we can see the front entrance and how the project sort of opens up more towards the side and the coloration of the facade. Staff comments. Staff is very pleased with the building facade. It is playful and dynamic, perfect for a children's museum as far as we're concerned. Staff does wonder, though, about the accessibility ramp that extends through the park. It doesn't actually go through all 3 levels, and we do wonder if it would be possible to extend the ramp so that someone who needed the ramp to access the different levels of the park would not have to leave the park onto the sidewalk. We think that would be a nice feature to incorporate. But other than that, we think it was a nice project. Comments from the committee? Questions? Keith, I see you talking, but you're muted. Sorry, Mona, we'll get to you.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to know, is that material for the exterior facade, is that predominantly like metal panel?
Dakota, I can.
Yes.
Do you want me
Go
to
ahead.
speak to that? Okay.
Please.
Hi, this is Dina with Gensler. So the primary exterior facade material that you see in white and then the colored areas are actually EIFS. So that is the proposed building material. So it'll have a kind of solid, white finish. It's not metal panel. There is some metal panel on the facade on the west side along Town Run Lane, but it's very minimal.
Is that a financial reason to make it EIFS versus something else?
It is a cost-effective option. Yes, that is the intent. Mm-hmm.
Please tell me what EIFS is.
Sure. So EIFS is an exterior insulated finish system. So it's kind of a composite material that sort of, from a visual standpoint, reads very monolithic and sort of like, I'm going to say, just like a finished kind of painted drywall. That sounds rougher than the reality of how it looks. It's just an exterior finish system material. So it's insulated, it's rain protected, it's thermally protected, it's sustainable from a thermal standpoint, but is a very cost-effective finish for the exterior that allows us to do a lot of things with panelization and color that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise for cost.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's synthetic stucco.
Mm-hmm. That's big. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, this is Mona. I share the same concerns with Keith on the use of EIFS, but I understand cost restrictions. I do want to compliment you on the addition of the colors to the exterior and the layout. Full disclosure, I saw it at an earlier stage and it was completely white and it was not inviting. This one is more colorful and inviting and playful. And creates more of a destination and a large piece of public art to me. But if there is any way possible to use maybe limited one side or whatever in EIFS and try to consider the longevity and maintenance of the building, please take that into consideration.
I agree 100%.
Thank you, Keith.
What was that a I understand it's a cost associated with it, but was there a cost estimate done for this with metal panel versus EIFS, and what is the difference in the cost?
I would have to, so we actually originally designed the facade to be a precast panel. Okay. So it was integral color precast panels with the white and the color variation that you see. And we went through a very extensive value engineering process with Bloom Construction and with the county and the museum to go through a variety of options for the exterior. And EIFS came out in the end as the one that would allow us to not only do the panelization and the color variation most cost effectively, but then also constructed most cost effectively.
Was that evaluated as a life cycle cost or just an initial cost?
I would need to confirm with Bloom entirely on that, but the idea, the intent was that we reviewed it not only from initial construction costs, but thinking about it as a durable and lasting longevity project for a county facility.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm learning things. I'm going to have to look up this material.
It's more common than you would realize. I think you just don't realize that it's on a lot of buildings that you probably pass every day.
The other side of that is if it does get damaged, it really has a horrible visual effect on a building. So yeah, if again, try to consider maybe limit it to one or two sides or parts of it.
And I guess I have a question about how the color is applied to it for this. Is it something that will last for years? Do you expect it to fade over a certain amount of time? What is the life cycle of that? Because it's a beautiful rendering and the colors are vibrant, but I'm just wondering what's it going to look like in 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've worked with, so because this is a public project, we're working with multiple possible manufacturers. And in all of the EFIS manufacturers that we've talked with, we are certainly reviewing with them the longevity of the material, the life cycle cost maintenance. We do not anticipate that there would be a significant reduction. I mean, the technology of finishing EFIS in different colors has, come a long way. And so we do not anticipate that there would be concerns about this in a short or near term, capacity. We can certainly go back and follow up on that with the county and the museum to make sure that that's understood and that if there are any concerns, we can address them.
Thank you.
Any other questions, thoughts? Some very good comments. I appreciate it. I'm learning things, so.
Dakota, do you mind if I speak to so I'm Hannah Barefoot. I'm the landscape architect on the team with Surface 678, and we're working on the plaza design, and I just wanted to speak to the accessibility comment. There was a lot of thought put into the accessibility of the plaza from the get-go with the museum and with the county, and the curvilinear pathway that's leading through from the top tier to the middle tier, that's actually graded to be flat enough so that we don't require any handrails. So we're not cluttering the space up visually. So that's actually at a 4.9% slope, actually lower at some areas where we're interacting with the sensory garden. But we've got this tiered system because we have so much grade that we're navigating from Liberty down towards the museum elevation. And we do have folks accessibly navigating back out towards the sidewalk, which we've decided to keep wide enough so that it feels like a very generous space to move in and out of. The reason we have stairs between each tier is really to provide informal additional seating in many cases with the children, so they can come and sit on the staircase and kind of gather in those spaces. So we really appreciate the comment, and our hope was that we actually address that through the accessibility of the sidewalk space, where the sidewalk's not accessible from the top tier to the middle tier. It is accessible like very flat from the middle tier to the bottom tier. So that's kind of where we came from in that. A lot of thought went into that. So we just want to make sure that was clear, that there is a very simple, accessible route through the space.
And I am glad to hear that was a concern and a consideration. I think the main reason for wishing that the ramps continued through, and impromptu seating with stairs is wonderful. I don't think they need to be gotten rid of. I just think the addition of a ramp inside the project would be nice, just for kind of, if a project is successful and stuff, like conceptually the idea of having to leave the project and go onto the sidewalk to come back into the project feels a little bit like you're becoming an afterthought, whereas if you are allowed to stay in the project as you're moving through it, it seems more like we considered you for the entirety of this project. That is just the mindset of why it would be nice to have the ramp go all the way through.
Yeah, no, we understand that. And we, we're certainly open to thinking about how that would work within this space, and also trying to keep it as green and sort of open for really mixed use, flexible play. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it is a lovely area. I personally, I would love it. It just, if there were an iteration that would include a ramp, that would be wonderful. So.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I guess my concern would be losing green space to provide an additional ramp when, to provide, obviously everybody wants to provide accessibility as much as possible, but it is an urban site and it's fairly limited in its scale. So I would be concerned about adding more pavement in there and losing green space.
The debate rages on.
Those are fair points. And I will say that I do think the site functions and is lovely as is. I will say that. It would just be nice if it were possible to include that. Any other questions, comments?
It's a beautiful project, space, interior, exterior, everything. I think it's an addition to the downtown area. It's great.
Well, that would be a great closing comment. With that, I believe that is the end of our TAPR committee meeting. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate getting to hear your comments and getting to learn a few things. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Thank you. Very informative.